Previously on the Elevate with Us podcast, I'm very proud and honored to welcome Leah Maieski to the podcast today. She is a rock star agent here in Northeast Florida.
I got my bachelor's degree in sociology, and then ended up getting my master's. It's a master in education, specializing in leadership and higher education.
Oh, wow.
Got licensed in July. Went through. Yeah, so it was
things
pretty
are
quick.
Progressing.
Yeah.
Love it.
So from October to December, I ended up closing 4 deals. 2 were from my sphere, and then 2 were team leads. So
wow.
Yeah.
Let's talk about new construction.
Yeah.
Because I feel, and I'm not really out there selling, so I don't really know. I feel that the best deals to be had are in new construction.
Yes, for sure.
And because the builders are buying down the rates. So do you feel new construction is a good place to be?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I just had an amazing new construction deal.
I know you did.
Yeah. That the home was already ready. So it had, someone else had backed out. So the home was ready to go. So the builder wants to work with somebody to get them in that home because it's sitting there and ready to, everything's complete. So she got her rate down to 4.99% fixed.
Incredible.
Got so many things thrown in, washer, dryer, fridge, blinds, like all the things. She just got such a great deal because she was ready to go, and close in 30 days.
Yep.
But a lot of builders have inventory that's sitting right now where they are willing to do more things for that.
So it's actually a really good story about how you got that girl in that house. So you were networking.
Right. So this is a referral from a past client.
Okay, I didn't know that part. Okay.
So I had a military buyer. I mean, this was back when I was on the team, so I think it was like 2020 or something.
Wow.
So my new client reached out to her because she had heard that she had a great experience, and so I was referred to. She's a young, military, active duty, and so we met for coffee, I think like the end of last year. She's like, well, I'm not ready. My lease is still not up, for a while, but let's connect again in the new year.
And you knew what she wanted.
Yeah. So we had talked about it. We did a whole buyer's consultation. So I had all the things saved of, what she was looking for. Then I was at a 𝗕𝗂𝗏, the Northeast Florida Business Association breakfast, because I'm part of the Sales and Marketing Council. And D.R. Horton was the builder that was presenting that day. And it was talking about new communities, and I knew when she wanted her payment to be around a certain number, and this presentation was talking about different new communities, and they said that you can get in as low as, and it was like her payment. So her name just popped in my head. So later on, after I got all the information, I went back to my computer and I sent her a text and sent her an email with all the info. And then later on that week, they were having like a big open house type of thing at the community, so she met me there, signed that day, and she literally closed like 30 days later.
So it's just so amazing. I mean, I think if you're in real estate, I think it's really easy to just show up, do whatever, check the MLS, and not go to the events. And it doesn't come without sacrifice, right, to go to the events, because you might have to show property later in the day and put in a long day. But you have to be a student of real estate.
Right.
It's always changing, especially here. Our product, houses, homes, townhomes, condos, whatever you want to call them, there's a lot of them. And there's, historic homes, and there's homes that to be built. There's dirt builds, there's custom build, there's the ocean, there's intercoastal, there's a river, there's rural.
Yeah.
So much.
Massive.
That's very hard to know all of it. But the best way to do it is to see it.
Right.
And to show up and to network and to go to all the events. I am so impressed with the number of events we have.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, sometimes a little overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Like a little bit. I feel
there's like one every day of the week.
Right now, at least.
Yeah.
At least one every day. But when you show up and you pour into your career, you could get paid.
Right.
Right. Because you might not have known about that neighborhood. Not because,
I wouldn't have.
Not because you're not trying to know, but because we're just inundated with so much information, and not new construction isn't always on the MLS.
Right. Right.
It isn't always on the MLS. So it's like so cool that it was, kind of serendipitous.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite words.
Yeah, I like that.
It's a very hard word to use all the time.
It is.
Whenever I get to use it, I'm super happy that, that all worked out so well. You remember your customers, and I'm sure you have quite a few. And that's a really, really, really cool story. A really cool story. So you're in the process of starting a team. Share the name with us because I love it.
904 Collective is the team name.
904 Collective. It's super, I love your logo. It's super pretty, very clean, which is really exciting. So what are your real estate goals? Like if you, and obviously I'm not going to hold you to it, but in 5 years, what do you want real estate to look like for you?
So I think focusing on listings is huge, especially with some of the changes that are happening.
Absolutely.
Last year I had, I think it was 16 listings and 14 or 15 buyers. Like it was pretty 50-50 for me personally.
So that's great because in Northeast Florida, about 60% of sales are buyer side because of new construction.
Yeah.
So good for you.
Yeah.
That's hard.
So, yeah, that was the most listings I had. Like it's progressively increased, as I've been in the business, which is typical. So I do want to focus on listings. So I don't know exactly what my team will look like. I don't want a massive mega team, but I do have a strong desire to mentor and help other agents.
Yeah.
And this business is hard. Like I loved all the mentors that I had throughout the years.
Right. You liked being on the team.
I did.
You think it really helped lead to your success. I think
for sure.
that, and there's a reason why there's teams.
Right.
There's a reason why some people stay on teams for 10, 20 years. I mean, it's hard being an independent contractor, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of makes you a little bit feel like an employee because you've got like a little group of people that are always with you and stuff.
Right.
So I get it.
Yeah, because I'm definitely social. I don't like to just work by myself like 5 days a week. Like I would go crazy if I just sat in my office,
Yeah.
So I like collaborating.
Yes.
I love, pouring into other people, which is my goal now is, my team's going to start. I have someone that we're about to announce that's on my team.
Very exciting.
And then also just hired an admin that's going to start with me part-time. And then the next person that I bring on, I do want to be maybe someone that's newly licensed or, someone that maybe has been in it but hasn't had so much success that I can kind of take under my wing and show them how I've been able to grow so quickly.
Yeah, no, because I mean, the statistics about new realtors are pretty bad. I think it's about 75% of them fail after 2 years.
I think it's higher. I think it's like 87% or something.
Oh gosh, that's just terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, I want it to be lower.
Yeah,
it's just,
I know.
It's just terrible.
It shouldn't be so hard,
no,
but it is.
It shouldn't be. And what's funny, I don't know what happens with agents that they start off so great, and then all of a sudden, it falls off and it becomes a vicious cycle. And I think that, who you work with matters. So like being partnered with, either a team or a brokerage that's consistently pouring into and meets you in different ways. I don't think all training should be online. I don't think all training should be in person.
Right.
I think that training should be at new home sites because there's too many.
For sure.
There's just so many for us to be a part of. And so, you came into real estate and you had a job. And everybody has a why, like why they're doing things. Like people like to ask me, why I started the brokerage because I had a team and we were successful and I wasn't really looking for anything. And my why is my kids. I am a single mom and I wanted to leave them a legacy. And I didn't feel at the time that the team could do that for me. And it just spoke to me that I could leave my kids something that was really important to me because I don't have a traditional job. I don't have, a 401k. I have one now.
Right.
The franchise office offers one, but I didn't have one then.
Yeah.
So what's your why?
Something we haven't talked about yet, but I have talked about on previous podcasts are my husband and I have been struggling to start our family for about 6 years now. And it was before my dad passed away, but the week before my dad passed, I had a miscarriage.
Okay.
So it was like grief compounded by grief. I could not function. That was one of the reasons that I'm like, I need to be distracted. Let me jump into the real estate course. But it has not been an easy road. I've gone through several rounds of IVF that cost, I'm over hundreds of thousands of dollars at this point because none of it's been covered by insurance. So my big why is just being able to afford the treatments that I've needed to try to grow my family.
Wow. I mean, that's really powerful. And I always say real estate's a gift.
Yeah.
And it's a gift for us because we're able to, help other people with whatever that looks like for them, whether it's a first-time home buyer or an investor or someone going through a divorce that needs to sell their home and they need someone to help them with it. And for you, the gift is a little bit different because you're able to, try to provide something for yourself and your husband that you probably couldn't have on your previous salary.
Definitely not.
Because I'm also imagining because your husband worked for the county.
Right. Yeah. He works for the sheriff's office. Yeah. So he has the benefits, which I'm always so grateful for. He has this set like every 2 weeks, gets his paycheck and he has the benefits. But you would think Florida's not a state that requires infertility coverage. There's only about 7 or 8 states in the United States.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it is not covered at all. And we are over $200,000 into like several rounds of IVF, like I said, several miscarriages and different things and surgeries that we've had to do. So it is 100% I would not have been able to do any of it without real estate.
I mean, that's so amazing. I mean, I'm very sorry for you that it hasn't gone the way you'd like it to, but I hope that the gift of real estate keeps giving for you so that you can continue, you know, on that journey, because I know other people that, you know, have had problems with that, and I know that it's hard. You know, I hope the best for you.
Thank you.
That it works out and that you can continue to pour that gift onto others. And I think it goes right into your mentorship and your coaching and the fact that you want to pour into others. You obviously are a really caring person that goes right into. So, you know, with you growing the team and everything, do you hope to step away from selling real estate at all? And because, you know, there's different types of teams.
Right.
You and I have talked about it, because when I joined a team, I just like did it. No one asked me, hey, like, what kind of team do you want to have? And I didn't know that there were different types of teams. Coming from Keller Williams, I was also with Keller Williams. You kind of only know the Rainmaker team. Right. You've got like that one agent, and then they've got like a listing agent and a buyer's agent, and there's usually an admin and a TC, and it could be anywhere from one buyer's agent to like 30. Or one listing agent to like 30 or whatever. But that Rainmaker, you know, sells real estate, but sometimes they kind of step away and they're just like the lead generator for everybody else. And that's what I was going for. But I really didn't like it. I mean, I'm being really honest with you. It was very, a lot of pressure on you.
Yeah, for sure.
When you're basically, whatever you're doing is feeding other people, and then you're paying a lot of money for it. And since they don't have as much skin in the game, they might not care as much. And then you're, you know, you've got to be in the office for this many hours and things like that. And are you looking for that type of team?
I don't think so, because relationships are so important to me. So I can't picture myself completely like getting out of, you know, helping buyers and sellers. I think my goal is always, I do want a kid or kids, you know, so to not have to be the one like driving all over Jacksonville with buyers is an ultimate goal.
Got it. But so your first big hire is going to be a buyer's agent.
I think so. But then I think about, when I was on the team, like I did also want to do listings. So I don't want to limit somebody. Because I wanted to know both, you know, all sides of real estate.
And I think that's really common for teams, is that you're either a buyer's agent or a listing agent. And I do think it's important to know both. I do think some personalities are better at one thing than another. But what we talked about is I think you kind of more want a mentor, a mentor team of sorts. I don't know what the word is. We should come up with one.
Yeah, we should. I know. But exactly, like I want someone to be in it because they like the collaboration and they want some mentorship and stuff. But I do want it to be they're bringing in their own leads, you know, and I can help them learn how to lead generate and do all of those things. And then, of course, like have some leads to pass on. But I do like that mine are natural and generic, and you know, I haven't had to buy leads, you know, or do like any of that.
No,
so
it just leads to better success. So like the data is, if you bring in 100 online leads, and I really call them inquiries, you have to convert them to be a lead. So you have these 100 inquiries. The national average is like 3%. That's 3. That's 3 closings for 100. And you're like paying per. Like hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars per, so it's 3% is the conversion nationally. But on referrals, it's a 33%. So if you get 3 referrals, you should close 1. And I don't know what the data is on timing. I'm assuming this is in a 1-year span, because I bet you it's more like 2 out of 3 you closed. It just might be outside of a year.
That's true.
So, I mean, it's the best way to grow your business. And if you're able to teach new agents or struggling agents how to do that, they're going to be so committed to you. Which is what you want. I mean, you want to build, you know, an organic, collaborative group of people that want the same goal as you.
Exactly.
Because you know, it's fun, you know, I'll go back to real estate's a gift, and you want to give that gift to as many people as possible.
Exactly.
And teaching, you know, I like to call them baby agents. I hope that's not insulting. They're just like little, you know, because they're like baby in their career. And they can be so fun to teach because they don't have bad habits.
I know. And, in the beginning, you're usually very eager. You're excited.
So eager.
And then, like you said, like quickly you might have one bad deal or one bad situation that kind of like sets you down a negative path.
Yeah.
So having someone else that's already been through that, like even now, being almost 5 years in, like there are days where I'm like, this is just nuts. Like, what am I doing?
Like you just are wondering what's going on.
Yeah. Like there's still definitely challenging days and times. And the beginning of the year usually isn't my best. It's my second and third quarter where I can really take off.
I think that's pretty common, though.
I know. I think so, too.
Kind of the flow of real estate.
I mean, I know.
We're a little bit lucky here that the seasonality of real estate isn't as devastating because we don't have, like in New York and Connecticut,
right?
The weather is like so bad. Like nobody wants to see houses in the winter.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, what are you going to put snow boots on?
Yeah, exactly.
And then like take them off. I mean, here people make you wear booties. I can't even imagine.
Yeah. Oh my God. You'd be slipping all over the place.
Right. Oh my gosh. It'd be like a lawsuit waiting to happen. What a mess. No, it's fun. And I think the other nice thing about baby agents is because they are so eager, they're like little sponges.
Yeah.
And they're happy to learn. But what I always find with new agents, and I don't know why this is their first transaction is like something you've never seen before.
Yeah.
And you're just like looking at it and you're just like, wow, I can't even believe we're trying to navigate this because you're like calling a lawyer to figure out what to do. It's inevitable. Like their first transaction is like owner financing.
Yeah, something.
And you're just like, we don't usually do this, but for your transaction, we're going to do this. Or the other thing that usually happens is it'll ask for a bar contract.
Oh, yeah.
And they're fine.
Yeah.
We got to train them. We got to know
it.
But you've been like coaching them on the NEFAR.
Yeah.
Like you're like, hey, before you're ready to meet a buyer, you got to write 3 practice contracts and you've done it all on NEFAR. And then they have their first buyer and they're showing and they call you at 7:30 on Saturday night and they're like, hey, it says FAR bar. And you're just like, of course it does. Of course it does. We spent the last month learning about NEFAR and they're like, I don't even know what that means. And you're like, I do.
Yeah.
Let's get on Zoom.
I know. I mean, that's literally what happened to me. Yeah. Not the FAR bar situation, but the first contract I was writing was like a Saturday night at like 9 p.m. And I literally had to go to one of the team leads' houses and she sat with me in her kitchen to do it. Because I'm like, okay, I learned how to write the contract, but they never showed me where to find the contract. I'm like, where do I actually go get the contract to start writing? Like in the training that was happening at the brokerage. So just to navigate where to actually get the documents, like, how to fill them out correctly. Yeah. And then after the first one, I save it as a template, like just to keep referring back to because I don't want to keep asking for help if I don't need to. But
so I have a video. It's like, I don't know, like 27 minutes long of me writing a NEFAR contract. And, real estate happens at whenever time. And it was at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night when I got around to, this was like 2 years ago, to write this contract. And I don't know why I didn't turn my camera off. It was not, I looked terrible. So every time I tell agents when they're writing their first contract, I'm like, hey, do me a favor. I'm here to help. But just watch this video because whenever we talk, it'll just make so much more sense. And it'll be a 15-minute conversation instead of 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, MPS, just don't look at me.
Yeah.
Like I had, I mean, I don't wash my hair every day. Yeah. It was like the day I needed to wash my hair. So it was like,
it's on its last like
slick black and like a ponytail. My hair was really long at the time. So it was like this big knot. I had already taken off all my makeup and had my glasses on. I looked so bad. And when I tell people to watch the video, I'm like, Tanya, you should just film a new one.
Yeah.
But I never remember. It's so bad. I just look. You can go to one.u and look at it. It's real bad. Like it's really bad. And then the other, I think, interesting thing that's hard is that every transaction is different.
Yeah.
So new agents want like a flow chart or like a template or whatever it is. And it's such a hard thing to produce because the deal is based on the contract.
Right.
So it's like, like go to the contract. Go to the contract. And that's so hard is like putting together those processes because you've got to read the contract to kind of know where everything needs to go and what it is, because it's not always a 10-day inspection period, even though that's our kind of standard.
Yeah.
And it's not always like a 30 or 45-day closing. Like, what if it's cash?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the other thing. New agents get a cash deal for their first one, and all the closing costs.
The check.
So
all the check boxes.
Whatever you train them on the closing, they check them all, and you're like, hey, like, did you read the check boxes?
Yeah.
Because it's like talking about the mortgage.
Right.
And they don't. They're just like, you trained me. And I'm like, I know, because
I know
they have to get something different. tell us about like some crazy deal, like something that made you question your life choice.
Oh my gosh. I actually have one that comes right to mind.
Oh, I don't know why, but I think horror stories are just super fun.
So this was my first listing where the first year I had like mostly buyers.
I told you, it's got to be your first one.
Or something. So it was my first listing, a kind of crazy situation, divorce, moving out of the area. Like basically he met me. We agreed on everything, had the whole listing presentation. Then he basically took off to Texas.
Oh,
so it's like here's my house, like sell it. And there was like a couple showings. And then an agent goes, hey, I think you might need to go buy the house. There's like some flies there. So like in my head, I'm like, okay, so
like fruit flies?
Yeah, I'm like flies. Okay, let me go check out what's going on.
I can't wait to hear what happens.
So I bring my husband and we go there. Now, this was the summer and I didn't realize that he had left like a ton of garbage on the outside of the house. Like I'm talking about milk and just so many things like in these garbage cans right outside. We go into the house. There were, no exaggeration, like 8,000 flies in every window. Like all over the house. There was a smell. So I'm like, I don't even know what to do. Like we had to go buy one of those big fly zappers. And so if you could picture it, like the house was staged.
Like a thing?
Like it almost looks like a tennis racket with like this buzzer thing.
Oh gosh, I have seen that before.
There were so many flies. I'm like, I don't even know. So
killing them?
My husband Jimmy is running around with this fly zapper. I have like this like sweeper thing, like trying to like sweep them all up. And then we have to take the garbage after we've gotten all these like thousands of flies out of the house. We put it in the back of his truck. There's a paint can that goes pouring into the bed of his truck. The milk, there was like weights in there. There was like the craziest things in there that we have to take. Weights. So it's like he's lifting up the garbage cans. There's like literal weights in there. The milk, the food, like just all this disgusting stuff. It like ends up all over the bed of his truck. And I'm like, what am I doing? We're like running around with the fly zapper, like cleaning up all this crazy stuff. I was like, what is my life right now?
I don't think people realize some of the things that realtors do. Like I've cleaned houses,
unclogged toilets.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a fun one too.
Well, that's the best when it's like a vacant home. And then some other agent calls you and is like, hey, there's like, solid matter.
Yes.
And you're like,
oh, yeah.
Oh.
Been there at like 9 p.m.
And they're like, but it's like to the top.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
And you're not going to call your seller at 9 p.m. and be like, hey.
And most of the time, if it's vacant, they're like not even really physically in the area anymore.
So
who else is going to deal with it?
I know. Like, no, we could, write a book. I feel like you could definitely sell that story to be in a movie.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. Like, especially just the comedy of errors, right? Like I can like hear the music as you're like walking up and you can like see the fly.
Yeah.
And I just imagined, what is that character from Charlie Brown who has the flies around him?
Oh, I know who
Linus?
like the stinky kid.
Linus. And that was like you and your husband's truck as you drove. There was like a cloud of flies. With the paint pouring out, like you like left a stream of paint in the road. But did you sell the house?
Yes, thank God.
Minus flies?
Yes, but it ended up being a whole crazy situation too because it was during that COVID forbearance that I didn't know that he had taken it.
Oh, they never mentioned that.
And so it was just the whole entire thing was just
a cluster.
Wild.
Just the whole thing was. You learned to ask a lot of questions.
I got initiated into being a listing agent.
Yeah. One of my favorite stories was I was on vacation. This was got to be 6 years ago, and like on a cruise, and we were about to leave the port. And we had a closing that day, and I got a call from the buyer's agent that was like, "Hey, your seller removed all the light fixtures." I was like, "Huh?" He's like, "Yeah, they're like gone, and he put in like Home Depot special."
Oh God!
And it was, at this like 6 years ago, it was like a $600,000 listing. Yeah. So for it was a lot of money, and I was like, "Really?" And per the contract, I'm like, "I know it's included.
Yeah.
I know it's included." I said to call him, and I was like, "Hey, I got really bad news for you. You're gonna have to pay him for all the light fixtures that you took out." Let me reread the paragraph in the contract.
Yeah,
that was terrible.
Yeah,
he was like, "Oh, they weren't included because they were my mom's," and I'm like, "Well, we talked about it and we could have excluded them, but they were never excluded,
right,
at all.
I know
they were super included." super
included.
Oh, so as like the boat's like going away, I'm like, he's like, I can't hear you. I'm like, I'm on vacation.
Yeah.
I'm allowed.
Always happens when
And you're about to go on a vacation.
I know. So since I've been in real estate for 5 years, I have not taken a vacation without my laptop, phone, had to write a contract, do something crazy. Like, I'm like, I literally have not had a vacation. So hence also wanting to grow the team is like just to have someone to be my backup, you know, because you always feel like, even if you have another agent, like that's also solo, like it's hard, you know, to leave and completely check out for like a week.
No, absolutely.
So I am nervous about it, but
we gotcha. We'll support you.
It'll be fine. But of course, it's going to be like 5 people want to sell their house, like when I'm in Greece.
Oh, no, like when you're on the plane and you don't have service, you're in a land. It's like,
yeah. But it's okay. I'll have support. So it'll be totally fine.
Have you seen that reel? It's like my favorite one where the realtor's like in the airport and they're dragging their suitcase.
I know.
And their phone comes up and it's like 30 messages.
Yeah.
And they just turn around and go back home. And I was like,
that's what you feel like. I know.
Yeah.
I know.
It's like super, super, super overwhelming. Well, Miss Leah, I so appreciate your time today. Your story is so empowering. It's so amazing. I think that a lot of realtors feel they have to be part of a team, or they have to pay for leads. They have to do all these things in order to be successful. And you just really leaned on the people you knew and were able to build a really successful real estate business. We're so excited you're partnered with us and can't wait to see what's next.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you.